Triskaidekaphobia is fear or avoidance of the number 13. It is also a reason for the fear of Friday the 13th, called paraskevidekatriaphobia or friggatriskaidekaphobia. The term was first used by Isador Coriat in Abnormal Psychology, Origins, Judas Theory. For the 1890s, a number of English-language sources relate the unlucky 13 to an idea that at the Last Supper, Judas, the disciple who betrayed Jesus, was the 13th to sit at the table. However, the Bible itself says nothing about the order in which the apostles sat. Also, the number 13 is not uniformly bad in the Judeo-Christian tradition. For example, the attributes of God are enumerated in the Torah. Some modern Christian churches also use 13 attributes of God in sermons. Hammurabi theory. There is a myth that the earliest reference to 13 being unlucky or evil is from the Babylonian Code of Hammurabi, where the 13th law is omitted. In fact, the original Code of Hammurabi has no numeration. The translation by L. W. King, edited by Richard Hooker, omitted one article. If the seller have gone to fate, the purchaser shall recover damages in said case fivefold from the estate of the seller. Other translations of the Code of Hammurabi, for example the translation by Robert Francis Harper, include the 13th article. Other theories. Triskaidekaphobia may have also affected the Vikings. It is believed that Loki was the 13th god in the Norse pantheon. More specifically, Loki was believed to have engineered the murder of Balder and was the 13th guest to arrive at the funeral. This is perhaps related to the superstition that if 13 people gather, one of them will die in the following year. However, the oldest source of this myth, Lakasena, has far more than 13 guests, so this example should not be taken too seriously. Another Norse tradition involves the myth of Nornagest. When the uninvited Norns showed up at his birthday celebration, they cursed the infant by magically binding his lifespan to that of a mystic candle they presented to him. Events related to unlucky 13. Apollo 13 launched on April 11, 1970 at 13 hours 13 minutes and 0 seconds CST and experienced an oxygen tank explosion on April 13 at 21 hours 7 minutes and 53 seconds CST. It later returned safely to Earth on April 17. On Friday, October 13, 1307, the arrest of the Knights Templar was ordered by Philip IV of France. While the number 13 was considered unlucky, Friday the 13th was not considered unlucky at the time. The incorrect idea that their arrest was related to the phobias surrounding Friday the 13th was invented early in the 21st century and popularized by the novel The Da Vinci Code. In 1881, an influential group of New Yorkers led by U.S. Civil War veteran Captain William Fowler came together to put an end to this and other superstitions. They formed a dinner cabaret club, which they called the 13 Club. At the first meeting, on Friday, January 13, 1881, at 8:13 p.m., 13 people sat down to dine in room 13 of the venue. The guests walked under a ladder to enter the room and were seated among piles of spilled salt. Many 13 clubs sprang up all over North America over the next 40 years. Their activities were regularly reported in leading newspapers, and the numbers included 5 future U.S. presidents from Chester A. Arthur to Theodore Roosevelt. 13 clubs had various imitators, but they all gradually faded from interest. Vehicle registration plates in the Republic of Ireland are such that the first 2 digits represent the year of registration of the vehicle. In 2012, There were concerns among members of the Society of the Irish Motor Industry that the prospect of having 13 registered vehicles might discourage motorists from buying new cars because of superstition surrounding the number 13, and that car sales and the motor industry would suffer as a result. The government, in consultation with SIMI, introduced a system whereby 2013 registered vehicles would have the registration plate SAGE identifier string modified to read 131 for vehicles registered in the first 6 months of 2013 and 132 for those registered in the latter 6 months of the year. The main reason for this, however, is to increase the number of car sales in the latter months of the year. Even though 70% of new cars are bought during the first 4 months of the year, some consumers believe that it doesn't accurately reflect the real age of a new car, since cars bought in January will most likely have been manufactured the previous year, while those bought later in the year will be actually made in the same year. This system continued after 2013, with vehicles registered in the first half of 2014 labeled 141 rather than 14. Similar phobias. Number 666 or 616. See Number of the Beast. Tetraphobia, a fear of the number 4. In China, Taiwan, Singapore, Malaysia, Japan, Korea and Vietnam etc., as well as in many other East Asian and some Southeast Asian countries, it is not uncommon for buildings to lack floors with numbers that include the digit 4, and Finnish mobile phone manufacturer Nokia's 1XXX9XXX series of mobile phones does not include any model numbers beginning with a 4. This originates in Chinese, where the pronunciation of the word for is very similar to that of the word for de, and remains such in the other countries' Sino-Xenic vocabulary. 17 is an unlucky number in Italy, probably because in Roman digit 17 is written 17, that could be rearranged to vixi, which in Latin means I have lived but can be a euphemism for I'm dead. Quote, in Italy, some planes have no row 17 and some hotels have no room 17. Paraskevidekatriaphobia is the fear of Friday the 13th, which is considered to be a day of bad luck in a number of Western cultures. In Romania, Greece and some areas of Spain and Latin America, Tuesday the 13th is similarly considered unlucky. Curse of 39, a belief in some parts of Afghanistan that the number 39 is cursed or a badge of shame. Lucky 13. In some regions 13 is considered a lucky number. For example, 13 is lucky in Italy except in some contexts, such as sitting at the dinner table. Colgate University was started by 13 men with $13 and 13 prayers, so 13 is considered a lucky number. Friday the 13th is the luckiest day at Colgate. Several Venezuelan sports people have chosen 13 as squad number, most notably Dave Concepcion, Omar Vizquel, Oswaldo Guillen and Pastor Maldonado.